You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
What is up, good people? Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast. This week, I have my buddy Nick Diener from Wonder Effects, and now we can officially say it, the Swellers, on the podcast. Nick came on way back in 2022 when Wonder was, I don't even think, quite a year old yet. Maybe it was in the ballpark. And now he's been doing it for 5-ish years or so. It's really amazing how time has flown. There must have been some sort of weird cosmic vibration happening because I just so happened to mention the Swellers on my other show, Tape Spaghetti. You can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. And maybe a day later, the Swellers announced their semi-formal reunion. So that was really, really odd. And I wanted to get Nick on to talk about that, as well as all the changes that have occurred with Wonder. And we pretty much just talked about weird stuff the whole time. So if you like a weird stuff episode, this is the one for you. So I better stop talking so I can start talking to my dude, Nick Diener from Wonder Effects and the Swellers. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, a show about guitar stuff, occasionally, sometimes. I'm your host, Blake Weiland. With me today, I have the wonderful, the fabulous Nick from Wonder Effects and the Swellers. Wait, was I supposed to say that part? Oh, no.
You're allowed now. I said it for the first time this morning. Somebody asked me a question in my Instagram Live, and I said something about my old band, or I used to be, and then I kind of stopped myself, and I was like, I think for the first time in 10 years, I can say just my band, or I'm in a band, and it's felt very foreign, because when you say the same thing for 10 years, it's like if you were calling, your fiance for years after you get married. It's like, oh, you're not that anymore. So it's like, now I'm at the point where, I kind of just have to remember that it's a current thing. But yeah, it's exciting.
That's really exciting. I feel like I'm like, it'll be a little while before this episode drops, but I feel like I'm getting like a hot debut, and the universe just kind of wanted this to happen somehow.
It is wild that literally you posted about it the day before we decided to announce it, kind of tease it, whatever you want to call it. But we weren't planning on that at all.
Oh.
It was May 1st, and in our little Swellers group chat, we said, oh, it's been 10 years since our final show. And then about 6 weeks ago, we did get together for the first time in, 10 years with guitars and drums in a room. We've seen each other maybe 2 to 3 times in 10 years, just at each other's weddings and things like that. So we decided we're going to play music, we're going to hang out, and we're going to take a couple pictures of us hanging out, but we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to tell anybody, because, what if we don't end up wanting to do this? What if, nothing ever comes of it? We're grown-ups, we have lives. And yeah, after everybody went home, we were just like, that was the most fun I've had in so long. We picked up right where we left off. We just got to figure out the right time to let people know we're going to, give it a shot again. And then, yeah, we decided let's post on the 10-year anniversary of our final show. And then we'll put quotes around final and then have a current picture of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of funny how few people got it at first. They were just like, oh yeah, miss you guys every day. And oh, yep, I was at that show. And we're just like, guys, like there's a pretty exciting underlying theme here. And then other people were like, wait a second. And like, and then they're like, it used to say 2002 to 2015 on our Instagram bio. And we removed the dates. And then people, I guess, paid attention to that and noticed that. And they were just like, oh my God. So yeah, I'm here to say we're a thing, but we have no plan set in stone for anything. And that's kind of just how we want it. We don't want any pressure. But yeah, we want to play again. Want to write some more songs. Yeah, it's just, it feels good to have it, back in my life.
Yeah. Well, it's just so odd the way that it all shook out. Cause I mean, I think I told you basically what I said in that podcast clip at NAMM, which was like, after you came on the show, I was like, well, I remember this. So something's ticking around in my brain. I definitely saw this. And like, it all kind of came flooding back at once. I was like, oh yeah, I was reading about him in AP and I was reading about him in these other places. And for some reason, never stumbled across the CD at FYE or whatever. And so therefore it never made its way into my truck's CD player. But, and I started digging through the back catalog and I was like, man, I missed out. I really missed out a lot.
That's awesome, and, man. I mean, thanks
for it's exciting to me I like you and what you do in the effects world, and I really enjoyed having you on the show. But I was like, this is so cool. This is such an interesting thing. But it should be said, I guess, that it wasn't a clip from this podcast, even though it looks exactly the same. It was my other show that it came up randomly on. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, dude, thanks for, getting into it, even if it was a little bit late. It seems to be how it goes for a lot of people, we were always that band that people saw on flyers or tour posters, or they showed up to the venue an hour after we opened, for some bigger tour. It's, a tale as old as time. So it's cool that we're starting to run into people who are like, dude, I just found out about your band like a year ago. And, I even have a problem when I'm talking to people that I kind of know these people decently well. And I'll say things like, well, I used to be in a band before I did, the pedals. And they'll be like, yeah, duh, dude, that's how I found out about your pedals. And I was like, oh, and so I have trouble keeping track of who was around back then and who only knows me from pedals. But I always assume that no one's ever heard of my band. And I kind of look like a jerk when I'm talking to like allegedly someone that's a super fan. And I say like, yeah, I used to be in this band. And then they're like, yeah, I have a tattoo of your band on my arm or, whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, thanks, man. Sorry. But yeah, it's just such a different feeling now, 10 years later, like us, the guys getting together, it felt like no time had passed at all, which was like very trippy. But being a grown-up now, like when I was 28 when we stopped, I'm 38 now, and life is so different and my brain is so different that it's like, oh man, I'm going to soak up every single minute of anything we ever do. I can't take anything for granted ever again. And yeah, hopefully we get to play a show and my kids get to see us, from side stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's one of those weird things too, where I don't want to say any band, but any artist that seems to have put in a lot of effort back then and anybody had heard of, right? Like just in general, even if it was in passing, I don't know if it's nostalgia. I don't know what it is, but like they seem to have just via the internet or via kind of cult followings, I'm not sure what it is, almost picked up more steam without doing anything. And maybe it's that absence makes the heart grow fonder type of thing. I don't know what it is, but the biggest, most obvious example, and this is a little bit different than what I was talking about, but My Chemical Romance was not filling stadiums when they quit.
Oh yeah, definitely not. Right. Yeah.
So, and now they do, which is
for sure
really interesting.
Yeah, with us, I think we've always been we're always a band that had to work for like every extra 5 people that made it out to a show. Like, our first tour, there might be 5 people at the show, and then our next tour, there was 10, and then our third tour, cool, we got 15, and that sounds pretty hilarious, and it kind of is, because after 10 years, we've made it to like 200 people at a show. So we've always been a really small band. We never had like a break that there was a sudden big jump. We were just slowly collecting fans the whole time we did it, so painfully slow, which, I mean, I look back and we were lucky to, be able to do it at all. But yeah, when we come back, we also have this thing where we're aware of how small our band is, because I think I had like delusions of grandeur, toward the last few years of me being in the band, because I don't know, we were signed to a big label, we were on these big tours, but then when you start doing your own stuff, you kind of sober up and you realize like, oh, like, maybe our band isn't as popular as I thought. And then also our final year of playing shows, those shows were very good, but they were because, we said, hey, we're done. Last chance to come see us. And I don't feel so bad saying that, because it's been 10 years. That's long enough. Like, I wasn't tricking you saying it was a farewell run, like 10 years is a long time to be able to be like, okay, hey, a lot has changed. I think I miss my friends. I miss the songs. But yeah, we just have no expectations other than, I just hope anyone who shows up or listens to anything we do, I just hope that it's a welcome distraction from grown-up life, because it's hard out there. And dude, what you were talking about, like the nostalgia thing, and I'm sure you've had this too, kind of like this midlife crisis, this existential crisis of like, oh, I'm one of the old guys now. Like, I'm not the punk kid, even though being 21 feels like it was yesterday. Like, I remember all the shows I went to. I remember hanging out with my friends. It's like, okay, life is very different. I'm in a very different place. I was listening to the Lawrence Arms with the windows down when the weather finally got nice. And I just was like, whoa, like nostalgia is not even the word. It was like my DNA, like it triggered something that restructured everything in my body to take me right back to that place. And I was like, holy crap, man. Like, I've lived some life. And I like texted my brother right away. And I was just like, dude, listen to Apathy and Exhaustion, like just for real. And he was like, oh my God. He's like, yeah, like, it's been a minute, but it's just crazy. Like every word, I knew every word, it just came right back. So yeah, I'm just at this place where I think, it's weird to say I'm a musician, I'm in the music business, whatever, but I'm trying to make music more of a part of my life again, even just being a listener and actively, diving in and digging the stuff I used to love. And yeah, it's all kind of coming together with the Swell Dogs reuniting.
Yeah. Love it. Well, you're talking about like realizing that you're getting older. Like it happened to me multiple times. I'm not too much younger than you. I'm 36 and I don't feel old. Like on like walking around, I feel pretty good. Everything's great. Like I don't feel like an old man at all.
Right.
Except when I'm talking to the actual young people, then I feel like an old man.
Yeah.
And on this podcast, I had a pedal steel player. His name's Amico Demuzio, and I'm not sure if his episode's going to come out before this or not, but it was recorded before this in any case. And it plays for a guy that I absolutely love, a country guy named Charles Wesley Godwin. People have probably seen me wearing his hat on the show a couple times, but I think we were recording when he said this. he's like, man, I really found you because I saw you doing some content wearing our hat. And then I realized I'd seen a bunch of your clips and stuff over the years, but I hadn't really grabbed onto it. I was like, yeah, that's the way it goes. You know, I've been doing this for about 10 years. And he's like, oh, that's half my life. He's 21. Wow. And so I was like, oh, I've been podcasting and doing stuff on the internet. I was 27 when I started doing internet things. And yeah, it feels weird to have, even then I was like, oh, I'm still a young kid. Look at me go. I'm a young kid making my way in this world. And then Ryan Burke from 60 Cycle and I were talking about this too. We're the old dogs. We were the weird new media people coming into the guitar world and shaking things up. And now we are the establishment. And I'm like, I don't even feel like I am successful enough to be the establishment. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, man.
But it's true.
And it doesn't matter how big you are, how successful you are, how much money you make. Like if you do a thing, there's going to be somebody who's aware of it. And there's probably younger podcasters out there who are doing this kind of thing because they saw you doing it. Speaking of the age thing, like one time in the comments, there was some kid, and I knew this kid was pretty young, but it didn't register. And he was like, oh, I wish I saw you, at your final Detroit show or whatever. And me being silly, I was like, well, where the F were you? And he was like, I was 5. And I was like, oh, yeah, that complicates things. You'd have to get a ride. You'd probably have to, have your parents have you up on your shoulders. Yeah, there's a whole lot of a lot of things that would need to happen. So yeah, how it is, like as you get older, every year feels like it's shorter because it's a shorter piece of your life. And so yeah, when you're young and you look at a band, like, dude, the Lawrence Arms, back to that, because I know, you're a big fan too. Another thing that came up was Apathy and Exhaustion, 2002. Greatest story ever told, 2003. Back then, it felt like forever between records because I was just like sitting there living life, playing shows, going to school. And then it was like, oh, and now there's a new record. Like, this is great. But yeah, now I look at it and like you're scrolling through Spotify or whatever, 2002 to 2003. And you're just like, dude, like I've farted longer than that time span. Like, that's wild. Yeah.
You're going to want to get that checked out. I'm just suggesting. Yeah.
You know what? I'm just embracing it. That's one old guy thing. I'm the loud noises that I make when I get out of seats and just like the disgusting stuff. It's like I think that's just part of life now. But yeah, I do feel good. I do feel, because I know like you're a weightlifter too. I think that helps. That helps us, I think, walk upright. Instead of like complete, elderly apes. There's a lot of stuff that I think our generation were kind of onto that maybe our parents and older generations weren't. You kind of see how just like in trouble some of these 50 and 60-year-olds are. And then you see, like kind of more punk rock 50 and 60-year-olds that are just like kind of kicking butt. And it's like, oh, it's because you're out there, you're doing stuff that you love. You're staying active. So yeah, that's been something that's been important to me too, because, I want to be able to kick my kids' asses when we start playing sports together. I don't want them. They can't beat me. I'm not an athlete at all, but I still don't want to lose.
Yeah, I've talked about this on the show a couple times, but my oldest kid has been in jiu-jitsu for, I don't know, 6 months or so now. Wow. And his favorite thing to do is to sneak up behind me when I'm not expecting it. And keep in mind, he's 9 and he's probably 53 pounds. I don't know, something like that. Right. And he'll sneak up behind me while I'm like laying on the couch and put me in a guillotine choke. And I finally had to tell him to stop because I'm like, this is a real choke now. Like, stop. Like, I don't, no matter how small you are, yes, I could throw you across the room, but A, I don't want to do that. B, this is like a real deal guillotine choke. If I let you do this, I will pass out.
Like, yeah, dude, it's like like daddy's big and strong, but our esophagus is only so strong. Like there's like when you're 9 and you weigh as much as you do, if you put some weight on it, like there's going to be trouble. That's like, you might have this too, where your kid does something to you and you go like, oh, and you like really, you maybe overreact, but like you make a loud, painful grunt or something. And my wife will always be like, oh my God, like, they're just a kid. I'm like, yeah, they have elbows and they went right into my groin. Like, that's not just like I'm not going to write that off. Like, my body told me, fight for your life. Like, that is pain. So yeah, these kids are getting strong, man. My kid's in martial arts, and it's kind of cute because, you know, they just kind of throw a bunch of punches and kicks, but then they like learn about life skills and how to like talk about responsibilities and regulating emotions and all that kind of stuff. Like for, you know, 5, 6, 7-year-olds to learn is pretty cool. He even has a class in his school called mindfulness. And it's basically like, hey, how are we doing today? Like, what do we do when we're feeling this way? Hey, we're just going to like listen to some chill music and close our eyes and like take it easy for 10 minutes. It's basically like hippy dippy stuff, but just made very normal. And that's the thing. My school's not, you know, like new agey or anything. It's like a elementary school out in the country. It's in the middle of a cornfield. So the fact that they're even doing it, I'm just like, oh man, maybe they're onto something. Because, you know, when we were kids, it was like there was the weird kid, and then there's the other weird kid. And now it's like everyone has like a diagnosis, and the teacher knows who takes what medicine and how to talk to this kid and how not to talk to this kid. And I'm like, wow, like that's pretty interesting, that even a big change from like the 90s, you know, like I feel like that wasn't that long ago, but yeah, much different approach.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that generally speaking, that's a good thing, because I remember getting introduced to some more like mindfulness things and meditation practices and things in my 20s. And at that point I was like, what's this?
Right. Yeah.
And then you try it and you go, oh, there actually is something to it. It's not just something that ninjas in 90s cartoons did. It's actually a real thing that has some benefits. And that's why millions of people do it. But in Western culture, and this seems to be changing, but it's been largely viewed as nonsense. And it's not. And a lot of people are finding that out. And I think it's really interesting that your kids are having that experience at that age, because I don't think mine are. I don't think that's a thing that they're doing. And I'm in, you know, just outside of Portland. That seems more like a Portland thing.
Yeah, no kidding. That is actually pretty interesting. The whole, you know, meditation, mindfulness thing. Yeah. Like me in my 20s, I was just like, there's no such thing as spirituality. Who cares? Like, we're just all going to die anyway, blah, blah, blah. You know, I was just such like a nihilist. And yeah, now I kind of realize, like, you see all these red-faced people screaming and angry all the time, and it's like not good for their health, and, you know, they're not making friends. And it's like, man, what if you just like sat down and shut up and closed your eyes and thought about how you feel for a minute, and then you went out into the world and went to go interact. So like, that's what I've been trying to do. Like, I am so busy that it's very tough for me to find the 20 minutes to like actually, you know, do some TM or something like that. But I do have plans to make that stuff part of my day eventually. I just, like, same thing with working out. I want to do that more. And it's just so hard to find the time right now. So the time management is something I really got to work on too. But yeah, man, now that I'm a lead singer of a band, I gotta get all zen and weird. That's what we got to do.
Yeah, with the jujitsu thing, I mean, I've always kind of had to make it a priority, because if I don't, I start going kind of crazy. Like, it's as much mental for me as it is physical. But I'm really lucky. Vincent's jujitsu gym is literally like shares a wall with my gym, and that's how I found it in the first place. So,
that's really convenient. Yeah.
Yeah, I drop him off. Well, you know, I watch him for a little bit, drop him off, go do my thing, come back and get him. Then we finish out my thing. And it's very, very convenient. It's really, really nice. But it also just happened to be that his class was at the exact same time that I like to work out anyway. So I was like,
sweet.
This is just meant to be. You got to do this.
Man, that actually
really nice.
That has me thinking, my son goes to his martial arts and it's 45 minutes. So it's not that long of a time. But man, if there was like a gym nearby, that'd be like 2 workouts a week where I have nothing better to do than to work out. That would be like perfect. But he does like me to sit and watch him sometimes. So I can't escape for too long. But yeah, I'm trying to combine stuff like that in my life too. So that's super convenient.
Yeah, I that's the only way. I mean, I can't believe how busy. I didn't think I could get busier. And then just adding this one podcast recording and all the editing that goes on with it in this week, I'm like, I think I might be approaching my physical limit for time while also trying to be a dad and do all that stuff too. Yeah, I guess you could, be that scumbag dad. Like, listen, I gotta work. I gotta go. I gotta do it. Here's my brick phone and my suit, and I'm from a 90s sitcom or something.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not trying to be that way though. So it's
I
a little
refuse.
Different thing.
There's some dads that I see around that still have that vibe, like where it's like they'll, like friends of ours who have kids, like the husband walks in with a briefcase and just kind of like pats one of the kids on the head, like, hey, boy, and hi, girl. Like they don't even know their names. And then they like walk into the, the man cave with the beer. And then that's where they stay the rest of the night. And it's like, oh, cool. Like really way to be hands on. So, yeah. Meanwhile, I'm just, changing diapers and stuff, and probably more hands-on than most dudes in this area. So the bar is really low, and everybody like teachers and stuff, they just think I'm like the best dad on the planet, and like I don't even do anything special. I kind of just show up. So it's kind of sad that the bar is that low, but I'll take it. I'll take the awards.
Yeah. Oh, give me all the accolades. Thanks. I need them. My self-esteem needs them. Please.
Absolutely. I need some kind of award for being a dad, because, there's not really any real life ones. So I'll take the validation.
It is kind of weird. And I think this is improving. Everyone wants to talk about how everything's all bad. And that's true to a degree, but I actually think that we've been made to feel that way and I don't mean social media has made us feel that way on purpose. I think it's designed to feed you what you engage with, and people engage with bad. It's
absolutely
just what it is. And I think that, yes, things are chaotic and things are troubled, and I think that they always have been. We just know about it now. And that's really what's going on.
Yeah, I've heard some, older people, sorry to harp on boomers so much on this podcast so far, but, they'll say like, well, you can't trust anybody these days. And I'm like, these days, man, like, ever heard of like all the serial killers and hitchhikers and all those things that happened in like the 70s? Like, what do you mean these days? Like now is a pretty great time to be alive. Like they can solve crimes, everybody knows better than to hitchhike. They're coming up with so many more cures for diseases, like medicine, even though a lot of people are now resistant to it, medicine and, health stuff. It's just, everything's just on the up and up. And I would rather live now than 200 years ago. That's for sure. But yeah, we still have a lot of work to do, socially. But yeah, and you get extra upset because it's, you're force fed all this information, and it's too much, so me getting rid of Facebook quite a few years ago was a big help. But then I had to go ahead and start a pedal company, and I'm right back on Instagram for 16 hours a day. It's basically where I run my business out of. And I kind of wish that I could stay away from it. And I can technically, but I would rather pick away at it throughout the day than have, because if I don't look at my phone, I'll have something like 40 DMs. And I'm not trying to sit there at 8:00 at night replying to everybody. And yeah, it can be a lot, you know?
Hey, Rocky.
What's up, Vincent?
Did you hear about the latest?
Latest what?
The latest drop from Maris. It's totally insane.
No, tell me more.
Maris just released Enzo X.
What's that?
Enzo X is a supernova expansion from the original Enzo into the highest quality and most flexible studio synthesizer ever created in a pedal format.
Whoa!
Enzo X combines 5 synth types, 5 drives, 3 reverbs, and 5 modulations. It also includes a full 2.5 second stereo delay, all in one pedal.
That sounds hard to use.
It's not. The UI is from the same family as the Mercury X and the LVX. It's super easy to dive in and see exactly what you are tweaking in real time.
Oh, I see. It's right there on the screen.
Yep.
Is it just for guitars, though?
Nope. You can plug almost anything into the Enzo X, including your MIDI controller.
That sounds incredible. Where do I get it?
You can pick up Enzo X online at maris.us or at any of their fine retailers across the globe.
Did you just say across the globe?
They know what I meant.
Wait, are we getting paid for this?
I'm still waiting on that cash money from last time.
He better at least give us pizza for dinner.
I'm not giving him his Enzo X back until he does.
For more information, make sure you check out maris.us, and apparently I have to go order a pizza. How exactly do artists get their music on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, all these services? How in the world do you get your music there? Well, in the past, you had to use something called a record label. But these days, you can use DistroKid. DistroKid is the absolute easiest way to get your music up on streaming services. And it's the most affordable way to do so. Not only do plans start at $22.99 for the entire year, that's less than $2 a month, DistroKid also does not take a cut of your streaming revenue, unlike some other services out there. Even better if you sign up by going to tonemob.com/distrokid. That's tonemob.com/distrokid. One more time, that's tonemob.com/distrokid. You'll get 30% off. That's right, 30% off their already extremely reasonable prices. So go to tonemob.com/distrokid and get your music out there. We are brought to you today by Sweetwater, specifically the Gear Exchange. You may have heard about this. This is a place where you can go to buy and sell your used gear. Maybe you got a pedal over there that's just kind of collecting dust. Maybe there's something you've been eyeing from the Sweetwater catalog. Well, right now is a great time to turn that unused gear into something you're actually going to use. Even better, if you sell on the Gear Exchange, you can keep 100% of the sale as long as you choose a Sweetwater gift card as your payout method. That is not too shabby because, let's be honest, most of this buying and selling we do is just to fund new gear purchases, and that is a great way to reach a wide variety of customers and keep 100% in your pocket, or rather on your pedal board. So go check out the Sweetwater Gear Exchange and turn that unused gear into something that's actually going to help you write that next huge riff.
Yeah. No, I do. I have a text chat that goes along with this, and it's one of the best things I've done because it's like the people who really want to talk to me about stuff. And it's also, I have to be careful with it though, because it's for back and forth communication, and that's primarily what I use it for. But once in a while, like when I have something special to talk about, I don't even do episode announcements there. I'm like not telling everybody that there's a new episode out this week because those people probably know.
Right.
you
yeah.
know, that if they're interested enough to sign up for that, they probably are aware. So I try not to abuse them. But once in a while, when there's something new and special, I'll send out a broadcast to everybody. And then I want to reply to everybody that replies. And I do that manually with my own thumbs. And it's like, okay, here we go. Sending out the broadcast. All right. The next 2 hours, this is all I'm doing. So I have to be very careful with it because I do respect these people's time, and they cared enough to sign up in the first place and hear my mumbo jumbo. So I feel like I need to give them the appropriate response and time as well. And but there was a time where I was getting like 100 messages a day through that platform alone, and I was like, oh boy, maybe I shouldn't have done this.
Right.
But it's kind of leveled off to something that's a lot more manageable and very enjoyable. It's one of my favorite ways to communicate, because it's just like I get to be like right there with it. But
right. Yeah, I'm kind of regretting making a Discord. I made a Wonder Discord, and I always forget that it exists. And then I go in, and it might just be like one or two people talking back and forth. And I'm glad that they're in there, and I'm going to try to do some more exciting stuff in there, like, leak some stuff early, like new products, early access to stuff, asking people for their opinions. But it is social media, like it's just basically a chat room. It's a forum. And it's just one more thing to have to remember to do. And, with me being basically a one-person company, I already do so many different things that social media manager might be like my least favorite. I love making reels, recording, editing video is actually kind of fun sometimes, even though it'll take like 6 hours to edit like a 60-second clip, which is a little ridiculous. But yeah, and then on top of building pedals, A&R, development, just there's so much stuff. So I'm trying to just figure out what I like the most and what I want to really devote my time to. But I think social media will probably be less and less as I go on.
Well, and it's also just what's delivering results at the end of the day. A company doesn't exist without sales, and it sounds kind of gross to talk like that, but the reality is if you don't sell pedals, you don't exist. So
That's right.
You have to focus on the things that help you sell more pedals. And sometimes that's social media, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's, interaction with your existing customers. And as a one-person company, you have to make sacrifices here and there. That some things are going to fall by the wayside. Obviously delivery can't, building can't. So those are non-negotiables. And social media, while it's crucial because that is how people find out about things, I mean, I'm in a little bit of a slump, I guess, for lack of a better words, on social media right now. I'm just like, what? If I have a good idea, I'll come up with it and make it and post it. Or maybe not good, or something I just think is funny or interesting. Or if there's a demo I promise to do, I will do it. But right now I'm struggling a little bit for ideas, and I feel a little bit like those. You see this from people in bands and solo artists and just musicians in general, speaking about how they're so tired of having to be content creators.
Yeah,
they're just
absolutely.
like, I'm so sick of having to make this constant stream of content. What I want to do is write and play music. That's what I want to do. And I totally understand that. All I want to do is play music, fiddle around with gear and record these podcasts. I love recording these podcasts. That's my favorite part. I don't like editing. I don't like scheduling. I don't like any of the other things that go along with it. I don't even love having to, manufacture ideas for social media. But at the same time, would I rather do that, or would I rather go back to what I was doing before? There's no job is ever just perfect. It's never, there's always elements that you don't like. And so when I hear artists say that, I'm like, I totally relate and I totally understand. Unfortunately, that is the job now. So we can do this, or we can go back to working on cars. Which would you rather do? And at the end of the day, I'd rather make content. So that's some people would say, no, I'd rather go back to working on cars, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, we need people to work on cars. Like, we don't need all the mechanics to become content creators. That might be a bad idea, actually.
It'd be terrible.
I don't think they would be so charismatic. But yeah, like I was just thinking like I'm going to start delegating some stuff to different people. Like I have some friends who help me build pedals, and I was about to kind of kick that into high gear. But then, with all this tariff stuff and the economy and just uncertainty in general, everybody's kind of just like, we need to sit and wait and see what's going to happen in the next couple months. And, I mean, we have a business, so we have to keep going. Like I have enough parts and things to last me a little while. But yeah, I was like, well, I was going to send all these parts to my buddies to help me build these pedals while I create, videos, do demos, work with dealers, do all the stuff that pretty much would take an entire day to do. And I got to the point where I was like, you know what? Like, instead of paying someone else to do this, I should just bank as much stuff as I can, even as far as new products. So I have something like 5 different pedals that I wanted to come out at some point this year. And it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to get the artwork done, and then I want to get the circuit boards and the circuit and everything finalized, not necessarily begin production or figure out like a rollout plan, but it seems to be a safe place to be, even though prototype boards cost so much money right now with, 254% tariff on top or whatever. Yeah, I'm getting 4 circuit boards in the mail, and it's something like $450, all said and done. So it's like, it's worse for some other companies. They're ordering $8,000 worth of parts and, paying astronomical amounts of money right now. So yeah, I'm going to kind of just try to get a bunch of stuff together, keep getting some ideas going, so that if and when things get back to normal, or at least closer to normal, I'll be ready to go. Because if I don't have a project, whether it's pedal related or in life, I really start going downhill fast. And it's such a bummer. Like I was really bummed out for like 2 weeks straight, like about a month ago. And I was like, man, what is my deal? And then I was like, oh, you know what? Like these 2 circuit boards didn't work. This one project isn't happening anymore. And then these other 2 projects, I'm just waiting on other people. So I was just in this slump because there was nothing I could do at that moment. And then luckily in the coming weeks, things developed and I had a project again. But yeah, I just kind of always need something going, even if it's something goofy, just something for fun. So I'm trying to make some time for fun and hobbies too.
I totally relate to that. The one weird thing is it's hard for me to, like, I'll just be real. I don't have time to do all of the projects I want to do. And there's always irons in the fire. I've got too many irons in the fire. And when you said that, I was like, you know what? I'm the same way. I hope I don't run out of projects. And then I went, how is that going to happen? I literally don't see how that's going to happen. There will always be something to do, whether it's Stringjoy stuff or Tone Mob stuff or now new podcast stuff. And that's just work. That's not even counting all of the honeydews that I've let slip over the year. I'm like, there's no shortage. I think I will die with many unfinished projects. I think that's what's going to happen to me most likely.
Yeah, it's very
just
possible.
A theory though. I don't know.
I have this new thing that I even want to do with my house, and I'm basically going to Marie Kondo it. That lady who, it was like the art of like tidying up your house, and like basically she just like had a TV show where I was like, this is how you should organize and this is what you should throw away. And I'm like subscribing to that pretty hardcore. I think her notion is like everything in your house should have a home. So it's like, when you have your table of all this crap, it's like, all right, where does this go? Where does this go? If there's not a place for it, you need to either get rid of it or make a place for it. And I'm starting to kind of, we got my wife's car detailed inside. And I mean, it was such a mess. There was stuff all over the floor, kids' crumbs and toys, like you name it. And it's like spotless. And I was like, hey, now that it's spotless, I'm going to keep this car perfect looking. and I'm like actually sticking to my word. It's like when there's trash in there, I'm throwing it out immediately. When my kids have their muddy boots on and they just decide to step on the center console, I'm going to wipe it off. So like that's my next project, is doing that in my actual house, which is going to be a lot more of an undertaking. But like David Beckham, did you watch that David Beckham documentary?
I did not.
It was on Netflix, and there's a point where he just talks about how when everybody goes to sleep, he just kind of creeps around his house and he'll like cut the candle wicks and wipe the insides of the candle and like wipe down the countertops and kind of just put everything away that was left out, so that when everybody wakes up in the morning, the house is just like pretty much back to normal. And I was like, that actually, I think that's going to be me. I want to be like David Beckham, cutting the candle wicks. But I got to get my house tidy first, because it's a train wreck when you have a 4-year-old. It's really hard to, and then also we're like in the process of, we just got like a new camper, we're getting new furniture, stuff like that, just kind of swapping a lot of old out for new. So there's boxes, there's packaging everywhere. It's overwhelming, but yeah, if I have a slow week, I feel like I'm just going to basically try to organize my house, and that'll be a good project.
That is something that is a major flaw that I've always had my entire life. I guess it's I shouldn't say it's disorganized. It's more like semi-organized chaos. I do not have the correct functioning part of my brain. Any space that I'm responsible for eventually de-evolves into, I have to like pick all this up. Right now, this angle that you're seeing in the shred shed is very curated. If you go to the left or right, it's like, there's stuff everywhere. There's cables everywhere. There's the pedals. And it's just the way I am. And I really don't like it. But I sort of gave up on this in high school with my binders. I would just like stuff everything in my binders, and like the old stuff's at the bottom and the new stuff's at the top. And that's my system. And at the end of every year, I would dump it all in the garbage and move on to the next year.
I just posted a picture on my Instagram stories. I like just did like a big old selfie from, kind of fisheye lens of my shop where I build pedals. And it's the most cluttered, gnarly thing. And I like didn't really realize it until today. But that's the thing. I think that you are this way too, where you're working so hard, where you're like, I can take this next hour and get work done and make money, or I can basically essentially take an hour off of work to like organize and tidy. But then it's like, well, I don't need it organized. I know where everything is. It's frustrating to see, but like I'll be fine. So that's my thing. Like I'll walk past, even the sink with like a ton of dishes in it, and I'm just like, no, I got to get to work. I'm not gonna do this task right now, and then everything just gets out of control. So yeah, I think the theme of this podcast is just grown-ups needing to figure out time management, because there's just no time, man.
It's just forcing myself to do it when it's easy before it becomes hard. That's the real thing. And it's not because I just have this habit of I'll do that later. And then later becomes, this is now an all-day project, or maybe a multi-day project. Like every 6 months or so, I have to completely reorganize the shred shed, because it's just there's string boxes and papers, and I can't have it dirty, like dirty and grimy and gross. I can't operate in that. It has to be clean in that sense. But there's just stuff laying everywhere, and it's not efficient. If I am being totally honest with myself, it slows me down and makes my work harder sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes it does. There's no doubt about it.
Being a pedal builder, I have random inventory stacked on top of each other, like enclosures, pots, circuit boards. Nothing is labeled. So it's just like, which big cardboard box is the thing I need right now? And then it's like, oh, nope, not in that one. Oh, cool. I'll go into this complete other room. I guess I have stuff in there now. And, it's just nothing is easy about it. And it's just like, I really should spend 2 hours. And then from then on, I might save, 3 or 4 hours of time by having it all where I need it to be. And like, I have this amp shelf next to me, like a wire, storage shelf, but I only have 2 heads on it right now. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take these heads off and take that into my shop and actually put some parts on the shelves and some boxes. Like, I just need storage, and just getting everything in a place is such a hassle.
I'm a little bit jealous of people that can do it though. Like, my brother-in-law is this way, and my wife is a little bit this way. She gets stressed out if there's things laying around, and I don't. It doesn't bother me to work in that environment or to exist in that environment. It's not a big deal to me. Right. I wish it bothered me a little bit more, because then I would have the motivation to make it not that way. It really like sounds like I'm describing a mental health issue the more I talk about it in stark, honest ways. It's like, what's wrong with me? There's something wrong with me.
I think about that stuff
weird.
Too, man. It's good. It's good to think about the why sometimes.
Hello there. I'd like to introduce you to your new best friend, the Chase Bliss Audio Lossy. Lossy is a collaboration between Chase Bliss and GoodHertz. And it's meant to give you some control over those weird digital artifacts that come with very compressed audio. You're hearing it right now. All the changes that are taking place are strictly coming from my playing dynamics. I'm just interacting with the pedal and letting it do its thing. In some true stereo goodness. If you'd like some more details about Lossy, I'd invite you to head over to chaseblinssaudio.com. I think you're going to like what you find.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
I guess acknowledging that it is indeed an issue is probably the first step. I've acknowledged it many times. It's trying to do something about it is next level. But
like after this talk,
I
think I'm gonna go clean up my shop after this talk, because I'm just like, you know what? There ain't nothing to it but to do it, as they say.
Yep. Yep. My great grandma used to say the only way to get a bad job done is to get in and do it. And I've largely taken that advice my whole life. What I need to do is take the next step, which is to do the job, get it organized, and then keep it that way. I don't really have an issue when I decide to do it. I'm going to do it, and it gets cleaned and dialed, and it's awesome. And I feel good when I walk into the space. The issue is keeping it that way and trying to keep my baser self from taking over and being like, you can do that later, Blake. You can do that some other time.
Like, there's a thing where it's like the last 15 minutes of your workday, like, be done 15 minutes earlier than you think, and basically tidy up and put everything back. Like basically, like shop rules, like if you're working on cars, if you're working on guitars, whatever, it's like you put everything back. So when you come the next day, if, like almost act like other people. That's the problem, I think, because we're working by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're not there to like help out anybody else by being tidy, because we're just like, it's just me. Like I'll figure it out. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I think like 15 minutes at the end of my day, I have to just stop what I'm doing, and it'll just be such a pleasurable experience to live life in a more tidy fashion, especially, in my business with inventory and tons of little parts and, oh my God.
So switching gears a little bit, because I think we could talk about this all day long. I think we've said all that really needs to be said about it, if we're being honest.
Oh, I know. We're just like talking about like how to be grown-ups.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't think I'm ever going to be fully dialed in that department, but such is probably the musician's brain, I suppose, to some degree.
Absolutely.
But the first, excuse me, sorry, I got a little frog in my throat here. Love allergies. Great for podcasting. When you came on the first time, Wonder hadn't been around very long. I'm not even sure if it had been a full year yet. It's hard for me to get the timeline straight in my head, but that sounds right to me. Now you've been around for how long? How long has Wonder been a company officially, or publicly at least?
A couple months ago was the 5-year anniversary.
Okay. So maybe you'd been around for 2 years when we first talked. It's hard for me to remember. I could probably pull up the episode and see what year that was, but
yeah, I think it was between 1 and 2.
Yeah. I feel like it was COVID times, or at least partially COVID times or something.
Oh yeah, because that was a strange time, to start a company, because there were so many other companies. I was so new to everything, and yeah, just I'm kind of proud of myself for making it out of that era, because that was kind of the years post COVID was sort of like, now let's see if you can keep it up. Because gear sales were pretty crazy. Any old hobbyist could pop some pedals on Reverb and start making, a couple $1,000s making clones. Like everybody was just crazy about buying stuff. So yeah, I had to put in the extra hard work. So I was like, I want this to be my thing. I still have a bunch of other ideas, and last year was my best year yet. So I was really happy that, everything was growing. And then, yeah, this year, we're back to another challenging year of seeing who's going to make it. It's, and for a small company that's, relatively new, it's always scary to see when, people are closing up shop. And yeah, the thing is, I still have ideas and hope, and I'm still excited about it. So that's what's going to keep Wonder going. The only thing that'll make me go bankrupt, I think, is I donate too much money to GoFundMes about dogs. That's what's going to be my downfall.
Well, but just don't do that, okay?
I can't help it, man.
We'll be okay.
If a dog has like a bad leg and needs surgery, it's like, dude, I gotta help out. Gotta help out all the puppies. But yeah,
that dog's faking it. That dog's just in it for the money. Dogs
could be.
I saw a really horrible clip the other day, actually, of a guy that was faking being handicapped.
Oh wow.
It was like very disturbing to see somebody actually do that. Like he's out there begging for money and stuff and pretending like he was unwell in a variety of ways. And then they kind of caught him. It was an actual news broadcast. And they were like, "Hey,
wow,
we realized that you've been, kind of faking all this." And he's like, "Well, I make $100,000 a year doing it, so whatever." And then he like, "Anyway, got to go to the next block." And he like just like threw his stuff in his van and drove over there. And I'm like, I think that's so damaging to people that actually need help. That like it's kind of more insidious than it actually looks like on the surface. Like on the surface, like, oh, you're scamming people out of money. That's bad. But you're actually making it harder for those that actually need help. I think that's the real evil there.
One of the gnarliest
Just
things
bad.
that ever happened, when we were in a band, like, you'll meet a lot of sick people when you make music. And there was a girl in Toronto that we were aware of who was going through chemo, losing her hair, basically dying of cancer. Came out to a show. We had her out to a couple other shows, I think with like when Paramore was playing with us. All these charities took her all these places. And then like 6 months later, it was a big news article that, yeah, she was faking it the whole time and like went to jail for fraud and all this stuff. And that was like one of like the most wild things because it messes with your emotions so much to think about how like the things you felt when somebody is sick and that you want to help. And then basically just finding out, they were just tricking you. It makes you feel like, dude, that is a really weird situation. But actually now, years later, I'm able to look at it as like one of those like Munchausen syndrome kind of things. Like that's just something that some people do. Like they either make themselves sick or appear sick. And so I do have some sympathy for that kind of thing. But yeah, being kind of on the other side of it was a very, it was like one of those things like, well, I can't believe that this happened, with somebody in my life. It's like one of those things you just see on TV. But yeah, it's like, man, just don't, it's like taking people's glory. I know that sounds really weird to say, but it's like there are people who need help, So it's like, it just feels like such a slap in the face,
Well, and it makes it hard for people who genuinely want to help. Once you've been on the receiving end of a scam like that, it makes it hard for you to trust. And that's, I think, the real damage there. I mean, the damage is obviously real in the financial sense when you're literally stealing from people. And then you're like, I don't know if that guy's really in that distress because one time this girl took advantage of me that way. And maybe that guy really is in that distress. Most likely they are. I like to believe that most people would not do that.
It's weird. I think we live in a simulation because you just said the damage, like the damage is real. The Swellers had a song called The Damage, and it was about this girl. So that is...
Whoa.
We live in a simulation. I think it was like the first verse, something like that. There was a couple different verses in the song are kind of about different things, but yeah, and I don't know if we've ever actually mentioned that to anybody or told anybody about that, but yeah, the song The Damage, it's a pretty good one too. It's a pretty Foo Fighters-y sounding song. But yeah, when you said that, I was just like, okay, like, yeah, everything's fake. We're in the Matrix for sure.
I did not do that on purpose. So
yeah, that's
my program told me to do that. I must follow the instructions written. Yes, I don't know. Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay, I'm a robot. I got to come clean. This is the podcast. I am a government controlled robot. I've been programmed to provide entertainment for dozens of people.
See, I knew I liked you, man. I knew I liked you.
Yeah. It's funny because I listen to a lot of podcasts, obviously, and there are some really big ones that delve into a lot of very weird topics. And I know that they're not joking when they say that people are emailing them, like accusing them of being government psyops. And
oh my God.
it's hilarious to like listen to the content and think that somebody is absorbing this comedy show and actually thinking that it's a psyop. It's so it makes you wonder like what else does this person think throughout their day?
It's pretty scary, man.
How do you absorb life? What's going on up there?
If you ever look on the comment section of like a really big podcast, like you will see people basically type in all caps like, I know you're part of the Illuminati. I know that you're abducting children and keeping them as part of a a secret pyramid cult, blah, blah, blah. And like, these are just like, people are like, this is how I'm going to spend my day. I'm going to hit caps lock and I'm just going to let these people know what I feel about, Dax Shepard on Instagram. I'm going to tell them all about my conspiracy theories every damn day. And it's like, wow, people, I don't know if they have a lot of time on their hands or if they're just very passionate or, just might need a pill or two or someone to talk to. But my goodness, man, it's a strange world we live in.
I did not think that I would get. I've told this story a few times, and I still don't want to like go into the details about it exactly because it's not that big of a deal. But it was really odd when I first started this show. I got emails from somebody that made me almost think maybe if this is what it's like this early, and then this small. I think I was getting maybe like, I don't know, like 100 listeners a week or something, which was great. And I was like, I can't believe 100 people are listening. This is wild. But it was still, I had enough knowledge of the internet to know that was still a small show. And I was getting these emails from this person that I was like, I don't know what you think I'm doing here, but I'm not looking for a date.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. You're just getting, you know what, being in the gear world, like you'll get a lot of boyfriends, man. Like people will be like, oh my goodness, you're talking about my favorite thing.
It wasn't a boyfriend.
Oh dang. Because I get only boyfriends. They want to talk about guitars and then they start telling me about their divorce and then they start telling me about, and then before I know it, there's like 2-minute long voice messages in the DMs and I'm like, I'm not going to listen to these. And then all of a sudden there'll be like an Instagram call, when people will like, usually it's a butt dial, but sometimes they mean it. And yeah, so I've had to put up some boundaries, it's like, excuse me, this is a business account. I cannot watch all 8 reels you sent me today. So there's, there's a lot of that, but yeah, wow. Yeah, that's an interesting stuff.
Yeah, and I've got some of that too. And that's a lot easier to deal with to me. But I was just like, listen, I am a happily married man. I just stopped. It started out about amps, and then it was like, whoa. It wasn't graphic, admittedly. Like it wasn't like I wasn't scarred or anything. But I was like, you got a wrong idea, and also, at that point, I'm not sure that like I'd ever been visible on the internet. I'd made a lot of content around gear, and I definitely had my voice out there. But I'm like, you never have seen me. Like I could be more of a troll than I even am. I'm already kind of a troll, but I could be like a real Danny DeVito over here, and you would have no idea, I don't think. But who knows?
Dude,
I guess now I say that
you fall in love with the voice, man. That's all that matters.
I was going to say, now that I think about it, that's never happened, and I've been physically on the internet with my face a lot more. Starting to put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, it's the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, man, I do have a face made for radio.
Yeah, see, maybe we just got to go. Let's just go back. I'm going to start going back to audio only too, man. Just like I don't need people staring at me.
Dude, I'm just going to say it. I'm glad that people will absorb the content wherever they want to absorb it. I do not understand watching this. I put it out there so people can if they choose to, but I do not understand it. This to me is an audio format. That's how I think of it, and that's how I absorb podcasts. I'm not going to sit there and watch 2 dudes have this conversation. I'll listen to it for hours, but I'm not going to be looking at that screen watching people have this conversation. I got things to do.
I was thinking about that the other day because I listen to probably like 5 or 6 podcasts, and one of them is Armchair Expert, and it's Dax Shepard and Monica Padman, and they've been audio for 5-6 years, and now they finally got a deal where they're doing video and they're on YouTube, and it looks really great. And I was kind of just like, like when I'm driving, I'm gonna be listening. Like obviously not going to be doing video. And then when I'm working, or most people, when they're working, they are looking at a computer or looking at a paper or something. They're focused on something. So even if they have a podcast going, having the video going next to them, the video going next to them is kind of like, all right, are you even really watching it? So the only time I can imagine me watching a podcast, and I did it the other day, was when I was building pedals on the couch, just like screwing things onto pedals and putting knobs on, because I didn't really need to look down. I can just kind of sit there and watch TV while I just put stuff together in my lap. And I'm like, that's like the only thing I can think of watching a podcast. Maybe if you're like knitting, anything that involves just like having something in your hands when you're laying on the couch. But that's not a ton of jobs. There's like what? Knitting, pedal building. That's it. Those are 2 jobs. That's your demographic, dude. You got
embroidery
knitters and yep. Definitely. Maybe like a seamster. Well, is seamstress, is that feminine, and is seamster? That sounds really funny. Is that the masculine version, or is everybody just a seamstress? I don't understand it.
I don't know. It seems like I never thought about it.
Yeah, I'm going to look up seamster after this, because that sounds like a very funny job title. It's like, oh, what do you do? I'm a seamster.
I'm a seamster. It almost sounds like you're mispronouncing something, like teamster or whatever.
Exactly. Or scenester, like someone who goes to shows. Yeah. But yeah, there was who was it? Carl Sandburg, maybe? Some old poet had like a music career, and there was like old folk music. And that was the first time I heard the term sharpshootress. And I was like, that's a cool term. Like there's sharpshooter. Apparently that's gendered. So it's like, well, she's a really good sharpshootress. Then I was like, I can go for that. I dig that.
It's a cool word. That's kind of hard to say though. Sharpshootress.
Yeah, it didn't feel good in my mouth.
Tastes kind of weird, but I'm here for it. I can figure it out. Yeah. And this is the first time I've ever heard that term, for whatever that's worth.
I never heard it again. It was like a one and done.
Well, Nick, this has been a wonderful conversation. I've obviously asked you the classic questions before, but for those that are maybe new to everything that you do, let's wrap this up before we go over to Patreon. But before we do that, I want to give you a chance to plug anything you want to plug, shout out anything you want to shout out. The floor is yours, good sir.
Man, right now, this place and time, I would say to everybody, I think you deserve something nice. If you have the extra money and you feel comfortable, go support a small business of some kind. Preferably mine, only my business. Because if I'm feeding my kids rations, depending on the tariffs, I'm feeding my kids like 33% of what, I used to. So while it's good for fitness, it's not really good for the brain. So we need money. Otherwise I'm going to become a farmer, and that's fine too. That's honest work. But yeah, I got a bunch of stuff hopefully coming out. It's just kind of it's that year where I'm just kind of filling out my proverbial pedal board of everything
nice
that I want to finally have, because that's been my goal since day one, was to have a great boost, an overdrive, a distortion, a couple fuzzes, a weirdo modulation, and a delay and verb. And like, that's my pedal board of Wonder effects. And then, of course, in addition to that, there's all my cool band collaboration pedals. So yeah, I might be at that point this year. I might finally have all my slots filled, and I'll feel really proud of making it that far and being stoked about having, like, basically I can play in my band using all of my own pedals. I don't think I will do that because that seems kind of lame. I think I would support some of my buddies too. But yeah, and if you're into Less Than Jake or the Get Up Kids or Harm's Way. I do collaboration pedals, kind of signature models with bands that I really dig. And those are available. And yeah, just I hope people just keep having fun playing music, because that's what it's all about.
I love it. That's great. Yeah, make sure you go check out Wonder Effects. The link is wherever the words are, since this does go on YouTube and Spotify and all these other places. Wherever the words are, that's where you're going to find the link for Wonder Effects. And go listen to the Swellers. I'm going to give that plug myself.
Oh, heck yeah. Thanks. I forgot about that already. See, I got to get used to it's like, oh yeah, that little thing.
Mm-hmm. Go check out the Swellers wherever you stream your music, and you will be happier. That's what my endorsement's going to say.
Thank you very much,
I didn't even
Blake.
get paid to say that.
Yeah, I'm going to pay you now. I got your Venmo, Blakey69.
Oh, that's somebody else.
Oh, I've been sending this person money all along. Oh, no. Oh, come to think of it. No, that doesn't look like you. Oh, well.
Yeah.
All good.
Well, we'll figure it out off the air. Well, Nick, thank you so much for hanging out. We'll see what kind of shenanigans we can get into on Patreon. Does that work for you?
Sounds great. Thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah. All right, everybody. For Nick, this is Blake. And as always, folks, good luck and good tones. Alrighty, folks, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. Nick and I, of course, got into some shenanigans over on Patreon, and if you love this show and you want to keep it going, please consider going over there, where for $5 a month, you get not only access to the ad-free feed, but additional bonus episodes every single week. Thank you all to everyone who's done that, and if you haven't done that yet, no worries. The cheapest, and, well, it's free, so it doesn't get much cheaper than that. But the other thing you could do that would help me out immensely is sharing this show with somebody. Share it with a friend. Tell somebody about it. It really, really, really does help a lot. It's the only reason this thing has kept going for so long, and it's because you people are sharing it with other people who you think might be interested. All right, folks, I have got another podcast to edit and record, so yeah, let's jump into that, and you can jump into whatever else your day has in store for you. I hope it's good. All right, folks, later.